Today we're on to welcome Regina Oswald to the show today. I'm very happy to have her on. She talks about some very important topics in terms of nutrition, lifestyle, and all these things, but ultimately, the most important thing is to understand that we're not broken. Like the life we want is actually possible, right? And a lot of times it's hard to see that because we kind of had this long history of like not getting things that we want, not living life like we want. But if we actually open up to possibility, if we actually open up to healing, we just might actually see the things we thought were impossible are now possible, right? All we have to do is take that action. He has some amazing insights. He's an author on these things as well. Talks about some great insights and stories. So I'm very excited to have her on. How are you doing today?
Great, great. I'm doing great. I'm so sorry. My dog is very active today. So here and there, you will hear some bark. But yes, so we actually, our goal, our lifetime goal is to become who we are, right? But how
Right.
can we become who we are if we do not listen to ourselves? And it all starts from basic needs, the food, nutrition, nourishment of our body, and providing our body what it needs. So if we look at the Maslow pyramid, that basically the hierarchy of needs, and the basic level, the first level is our nutrition, our food, right? If we lose contact with ourselves on that first level, then the next level would be our safety. Then we do not feel when our body tells us what's safe and what's not safe, right? We do not hear it because we lost contact on the first level. The third level is our relationships with people, our love relationships, our friendship, and everything else. But we already lost contact with ourselves. How will we hear when our body tells us that, okay, this person is good for us? You feel good next to this person, or this person is dangerous for us, maybe too toxic, or whatever situation is. Then we go, eventually we have to get to the top of the pyramid where like we through self-respect, and then we go through self-realization. But how can we get there? Because every time we try to get there, we're just sliding down back to basic level where we do not even understand if our body needs food or if our body needs comfort.
Absolutely. That makes sense.
That's why, yes, that's why in everything what I do is through small steps that you take towards yourself, towards understanding yourself, your needs, you kind of slowly return and repair those disconnections that by whatever reason happen. You repair them and you start hearing yourself because you keep that dialogue open with your body, and your body starts soften up. Your body starts talking to you
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense.
because yeah, you experience that through your experience, through your story with your health situation, right? But our body will always find the way how to bring the message across. And sometimes, like in my situation, was also it's through iron deficiency anemia, it's through early menopause, it's through losing my hair, okay, and compulsive overeating. But my body will bring the message. It will scream to us if we don't listen to when it talks to us, quietly.
100%. Absolutely. Excited getting those strategies today, but I'm very curious to hear your story first and how we actually got into that in the first place. Like, how did this all start for you? Like, what is it, the story that kind of got you along this path and kind of surface in the way that you are today?
Yes, so it's a great question because everything has the beginning, right? So my story was I grew up in a family with a lot of overweight people, and I looked at all of them. They had, sorry, they had issues with their health. So I thought, okay, if I will put myself on diet, then I will avoid that. Okay, and I will not be. Bailey, can you stop it? Come here and come down. Get here. I'm so sorry. So if I will find a way how to reinforce my willpower and the willpower to go against my body, right? Then I will be successful in keeping my weight in a normal range, and I will not repeat the story of my family. So that was the first kind of, the root. The second root, I saw how my caregivers and my family treated their bodies. And then at an early age, I started getting messages from my caregivers that, that certain parts of my body have to be smaller, and I have to watch what I eat, and I have to eat less. And I realized that my body has to be, managed. And then that happened at such an early age that, my cortex, my prefrontal lobe was not fully developed. So you know how when we're going through teenagerhood, we do stupid things. So we don't really have that CEO that we have now to kind of like, hold on, that's not right, right? So I basically started it at an early age, and then in my 20s and in my 30s, life were happening so fast that I didn't have chance to slow down and question that. I just continued doing what I learned, because at 22, I moved to United States. And then I started building my career. I started getting my second bachelor degree. Then I became a single parent at 29. And then it was just so fast that I didn't have chance to slow down and stop reacting and start getting more reflective. And as I grew older, my body started like showing some signals that, girl, you're not doing right things. We're not going this way. And then in my 40s, basically I started having serious problems where like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. Then I came to a realization that if God created me, God did not intend me to be on diet. I do something completely wrong. And I had a very interesting conversation with God. It was more monologue, but I was walking in the morning, and I was basically, and it's in my book, and I was praying to God to show me the way. I was so tired. I was so frustrated. And I was praying, and that I had tears in my eyes, and just like, and it was so open and vulnerable and everything. And then all of a sudden, a few steps later, I saw part of the greeting card that said, I love you, on the side of the road. Okay. And that was a message that I was always loved, that my worth does not depend on the shape of my body or the scale numbers. I'm worthy just because I am.
Wow. Yeah. It's incredible. Those
Yeah,
messages, I mean, they can definitely like, they're there for a reason, right?
absolutely. Do you believe in it?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's just interesting how like when we need it, it just kind of shows up. If we're open to it in a sense, like we kind of have to kind of like be energetically open to it in a sense.
And be present,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Presence. It's key.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
No, I do believe in those messages. And in fact, I have the whole collections. And if our listeners, find any hearts in the next couple of days after they listen to our podcast, send them my way. It's basically could be in the clouds, it could be the shape of the leaf, it could be the shape of the stone, but I collect hearts. So
Very
send
interesting.
them my way, and I will just share them on my Instagram.
Very cool. I
Yeah.
mean, being like willing to trust ourselves again, like after we go through these things, it's hard, right? Because a lot of times we don't necessarily believe that we're enough in a sense. And once we start to realize that we are, like you are, right? And then you kind of like live in alignment and still have that growth. Because I feel like the nature of life is growth, right? So I like to say the paradox of success is to accept where you are, but kind of strive for more in a sense too.
I absolutely agree. We grow because I have this beautiful saying, who you are is God's gift to you. Who you become, it's your gift to God. Okay?
Yeah.
But you do it from the perspective of you're enough, right? It's not that I will feel enough when I get another education, when I will have so many followers, when I will be certain shape or certain wealth. It's I'm enough now. And what can I do? What can I do to make my life more joyful, to get closer to my purpose, because that's eventually what makes us happy, when we live life of a meaning and purpose.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, why is it that a lot of us are kind of disconnected in a sense? Like, kind of so distracted from what's real and all these things. Like, what are some steps that we can take in order to kind of come back into alignment in a sense?
Yeah, I think we have to start looking inwards. It's there is a very powerful painting, and you can take a look at it later on. It's created by Waterhouse, the painter, and it's called Magic Circle, and it's a beautiful, beautiful painting where a woman, she creates this magic circle, and she's not bothered what's outside, and she creates some kind of spell or magic or whatever you call it, and it's like, it boils, and the steam goes up. But the message of it is a very powerful message. We have to look inward. We have to start living more reflective versus reactive. Because all the answers, we can be inspired, I can be inspired, and I was listening to your story, but probably your path, I cannot repeat your path. I can be inspired by your story, but I have to find answers within myself.
Exactly.
And a lot of people live being reactive, right? Things happening and they're triggered and they're reacting. But Viktor Frankl said between stimulus and response has to be space, and that's where our freedom lives.
Right.
To choose what we want at every point of our life. But again, that space is the sum of how well we're rested, how well we're nourished, how well we exercised our body. So all of this, and how we managed our stress, and how we interact with abusive stuff, right? Like, drugs or anything like it. So all of this contributes how much time we can create between stimulus and response. Because if I did not sleep well, my reaction would be immediately, right? Something happens, something triggers me, and I immediately respond. Well, if I'm well nourished, if I well rested, if I took care of my emotional needs, I will have so much longer that space where there's a freedom to choose what outcome I want.
Absolutely. Yeah. That makes sense. It's like we have to create this spaciousness in a sense, right? Because if we're kind of going throughout the day, we're constantly being distracted. We don't really give ourselves any time to think or kind of turn knowledge into wisdom in a sense, right? So it's being able to kind of contemplate things. Like a lot of us, we don't do that anymore. It's really unfortunate. But as you said, like if we start to meditate or just kind of like give ourselves time to relax, it's a lot easier to kind of respond in a way that we see throughout the day too.
Absolutely. I do believe in it, and I exercise it. I live by that. I know if I'm too reactive, I probably need to take care of the emotional needs, or, my physical needs. I need to take care of myself.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. I mean, because it's so much easier to be reactive and, you know, stressful if we're not feeling well, right? I mean, I feel like as individuals, we're so resilient. Like we can do these things, but how we stack the conditions in our favor? Like how we actually take control of our health and wellness, and make these
Mm-hmm.
things a lot easier, make it more graceful.
Mm-hmm. In my life, I changed the word control to care,
Yeah.
because for almost 30 years, so I started like when I was teenager, and I liberated myself at about like 46 years old, a couple of years ago. So controlling my body was not the right language to use with my body, because my body needed my care.
Yeah.
I changed that control to care. And when we change it, when we nourish our body, not putting our body on diet, but nourish our body and do everything with our body from a standpoint of love versus I have to fix you. I have to, you're my project and you have to look certain way. You have to weigh certain number. That's what control is. And that's not what our body wants from us.
Right. So it sounds like coming from a place of love rather than fear, right? Because
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, honestly, with anything, like if we're coming from it from a place of fear, you may get some results up front, but if you want long-term results and fulfillment, you ultimately have to change where you're coming from in a sense. Like coming from a place of love is going to be much more powerful and much more sustainable. Also, going to be a lot more open to possibility with that as well.
100%. I agree with you because everything that I do right now, I do from a standpoint of love and not because my body needs to be fixed or my body needs to be certain size.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, the interesting thing that the side effect that I'm in the best shape of my life, despite the fact that I'm in menopause and I'm 48 years old, right? I'm in the best shape of my life, physically and emotionally.
Yeah. It's incredible, right? It's like
Yeah,
we just have to be willing to kind of be aware of the things that we want and then make sure that you're doing it in a holistic way. Because if we're just doing it from, oh, I want these certain results from a physical standpoint, it's like, health is very holistic. It's like mind, body, spirit, right? And if you're not taking control of your mind, emotions within that process, it's not only are you leaving a lot of health and vitality on the table, you're not going to get long-term sustainable results either.
yes. And I always suggest start small.
Yeah.
Okay, because we all know that January 1st, okay, no, well, not January 1st, but first week of January, all the gyms are like super crowded, right? And by end of February, they're all empty. And the reason is people start so like with such a big steps and they get exhausted. So they start diets, they start rigorous exercise, they get exhausted so fast and they do not want to continue. If you continue with small steps, you don't start with diet, you start with, okay, maybe I shall add, and in fact, in my book, I start not with eliminating anything, just adding. Maybe I shall add more fiber to my every meal of mine. Maybe I shall drink extra glass of water. Just extra glass of water, okay? And every time you drink that extra glass, you praise yourself. Because when we praise ourselves, the dopamine is released. And that dopamine will keep us going. So the small steps are more sustainable, they're pleasant, they're easy to achieve, and then after a year you look back and you're completely in a different space where you started.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
Get those small wins in, right? Build that momentum. A lot of times we go for these quick fixes or perhaps we overwhelm ourselves, but ultimately it really comes down to building those small wins and building that positive momentum, right? Because if you want long-term sustainable results, you can't just do the quick fixes, right? You want to actually focus on the positive momentum as well as the basics. Like you have to match the fundamentals of wellness too, and that's what it comes down to. I see as well.
Absolutely. And the thing is, like, you have to take care. My approach is three-dimensional because many approaches of wellness now, they focus on diets as, okay, you basically they tell you eat less, move more, okay, and you will be in great shape. That does not work this way. My approach is three-dimensional. It's emotional health, it's food as a nourishment, and it's movement as something we do because our body needs movement. It's interesting, when we move our body, we feel that happiness because the myokines, the little particles that are in our muscles, send signal to our brain and we feel happy. It's almost the way, in a way, our muscles thank us for moving them.
Yeah.
I always feel happier. I know it's hard. I lift weights and it's hard. It's like, and we do progressive loads, so like every time it's like it's never easy, because when it's easy the progress stops, right? So
Right.
I lift weights and it's hard, but then after that I feel so happy, my muscles feel so happy. Like already at 7:30 I had my workout and I feel great and I feel ready to start my day.
Yeah. I mean, it's so key, right? I mean, we also we actually generate energy. Like there's a form of energy called piezoelectricity, right? And it's literally
Tell
created
me
through
more
movement.
about it. I never
Yeah.
heard about it.
Yeah.
Tell me
It's
more.
like it's very important because life is really movement in a sense. If we're just kind of sedentary and we're kind of stagnant, it's like how do we expect to have the energy to actually feel good and reach our goals and all these things? It's very very important.
I want to learn more about it, but I agree. Like the stone that lies on the side of the road does not have any energy. Well, if you put the stone down the hill, that's when the stone will get energy and it will
Yeah.
start
Right.
going, right? So even from physics standpoint, if I will spend 2 3 days on the couch, my energy level will be like, very low. But if I get up, and that's another thing that I'm grateful to my dog, that even if when I don't want to go for a walk, I go for a walk, and after that I feel so much happier when we take daily walks with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Very important. It's like how all these things that work together, right? It's like, of course, you have sleep, nutrition, exercise, and once we start to focus on a holistic approach, again, it's not about being perfect here, but it's about making that progress on a day-to-day basis. And as long as we stick to our goals and all these things, we're going to start to feel better over time, and that starts to build more momentum as well, right? So it's kind of keeping that positive flow going in a sense.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah. So from a nutrition standpoint, like I can talk a lot about that as well. Like, what is your approach to nutrition? How do we actually start to think about that in our own lives and kind of get started if we're just kind of confused in a sense?
Okay, very easy. Few very easy things. So for people who, I'm not talking about obesity. That's completely different. Like, that's a medical diagnosis that has to be treated by doctors, right? But I'm talking about me and you. So our stomach, when it's not filled with food, is just one feast. Okay, it's empty stomach, and it's right here. I will get up right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just one feast. So when we fill it with food, it becomes two feasts. Okay, so when you open them, that's a space that we have to fill with food. That's basically how much food we need. So half of it has to be fiber. 50% of the plate has to be fiber. And then this half has to be divided into two, and half of it should be protein, and half of it should be complex carbs. If protein has already fats, let's say you decided to have steak because your body wants steak, right? I do not know if you eat meat or not, but if somebody decides to have steak, then you don't need to add extra fats because it's already fatty. If you go with chicken breast, then you have to add some fats, and it could be olive oil, it could be avocado, it could be seeds, it could be anything, right? So that's basically how easy it is. We don't have to weigh anything. And then as we eat, we have to be present and we have to feel, feel the satiety, but not from the stomach, from the mind.
Right.
So we should not feel, the moment we feel that our stomach is so full, that's when we overate.
Right.
So start being present, start listening to your body, but that's how basically you start composing your plate. And the second little trick, and it's all in my book, the second little trick, how to keep your glucose level under certain range, not to go too high, is basically you start with fiber, then you go into fats and proteins, and then you give your complex carbs in the end. By doing that, you basically reduce that glucose spike tremendously, because you first create a layer of fiber that your body needs to work hard to metabolize it. and then you give protein and fats, and then you give complex carbs. So by doing that, you're already reducing the glucose spike. So I give a lot of little tricks that people do not need to count calorie, even though it's very important to be educated, like what food carries more density, to be more careful about it. But there is nothing restricted. The only thing that I do not eat is processed food, ultra processed food, because my body does not feel good after that.
Yeah.
The rest is there are no restrictions. I eat chocolate candy every day and I will never give it up. So, but I have to admit that in the past, when I was on diets, the binge eating would look like eating the whole box of chocolate because I was on such a restriction that the moment I could get my hands on chocolate, I would not stop after one. And now it's completely different. I can have one because I know that I can have one tomorrow and there's no restriction, and I can have one after tomorrow. And I just have one and it's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause you feel satiated, right? It's like, you're not necessarily looking for external validation in a sense, like from whatever it is, right? You actually feel good within yourself. You're doing it from a place of actually wanting to, rather than a place of like, hey, this is compulsion in a sense.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing that, you ask yourself, what does it give me when I ate, let's say, for example, somebody wanted to have few spoonful of ice cream, but they ended up with the whole tub, okay? There are two choices to ask afterwards. The first one is like, you dirty pig, you did it again, right? And be harsh on yourself, and guilt and shame and all of this. So your body kind of like, like by listening to this and getting into the state of stress, your body will be in a stress mode where nothing is regulated, and everything is basically, your body will hold everything, and you will see probably the increase of weight the next day. The second choice is to ask your body, what did it give you? That whole bucket of ice cream, what did it give you? The next question would be, what else could give you the same thing? Maybe it's a comfort. Maybe it's a stress reduction. What else would give you the same thing? And how can I learn from this? Not to criticize myself, not to judge or shame or blame myself or guilt trip, but how can I learn from this?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of building that self-awareness of like why we do the things that we do in a sense. And then when you start to have that awareness, okay, then I can choose differently, right? As you said, you're not blaming yourself. Like, it's good to have grace within that process, right? Because going back to like where you're coming from, where did you come from in a sense, and just building that sense of confidence within yourself. Hey, if I mess up, it's all good, right? Just keep on going forward, and just get better over time. It's all good, right?
I mean, our mistakes are given to us to learn from them, not to shame, not to blame, not to, find somebody who is responsible why you made me stressed and I ate that whole bucket of ice cream, but to learn. And that's also in my book. It's called David Call Cycle, where we take what happened, we analyze it, we create new plan, and we implement it. And then we see what happened, and then we analyze it again, and we do it as many times as required to get to the right, right outcome that we want. Not the right outcome for everybody else, but what we want. And I don't want to end up eating the bucket of ice cream. So what would be the right outcome for me? To have trust, to have few spoonful, enjoy them, and finish with it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And what people don't really think about is like, if the truly best outcome for you is going to be the best outcome for everyone else as well, right? Because then now you're showing up the best version of yourself. Now you're actually be able to connect better, be of service and all these things. Like actually want to uplift other people as well, right? So it kind of works in synergy too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, I meet different people and people share stories with me. And sometimes it's so sad to hear that, women stop going to events because they have no control over the food. And they're so anxious that when they go out, they will overeat. They don't have trust to their body that they will be able to stop. So they basically they choose not to go to those events, not to enjoy those social gatherings because they do not have that control over their food. And that's sad. And that's what my book teaches, that you don't have to be in that diet prison. You don't have to live in that mentality. You can be free and you can reestablish that trust with your body that was in all of our original settings.
Yeah.
I do believe that we're all born with our original settings, and then down the road something happens and they get messed up,
Right. Yeah, I mean,
right?
yeah, freedom is what it's all about. A lot of times we have to relearn these things, like, because it could be past trauma, it could be past, like, whatever, like, past programming, even, like, limiting beliefs, but it's like, you know, I feel like the truth is the highest form of frequency in a sense. So the more we can align with that in ourselves, you know, the more, you know, in alignment we can actually be in our own lives and whatever it is. Like focusing on things like health, wealth, relationships, all these things that work together. We have to be in alignment with them, right? And these things
Absolutely.
here,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
that all works
create
together.
this vibration within ourselves, and then we are on that vibration, and that we attract the the situations in our life that are equal to that vibration. I do believe in that.
Yeah. Let's say like, people are on their path to kind of like transform their health, and maybe they're overcoming certain obstacles within that, and they just feel discouraged, right? They're just kind of like discouraged of all these, uh, seemingly failures and challenges. Like, how do we start to overcome that in a sense and get to the other side of it? Understand that it's part of the process too.
Yeah, the success is not linear. None of us is kind of like on today I will take one step and then I will take another step tomorrow and the third step. None of us have this type of success. So we go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. But the most important part, as I mentioned, to learn from those fails. Not to blame, not to guilt trip, not to feel ashamed, not to um, use them as something to sabotage your whatever progress you're already making, but to use it as a stepping stone. Okay, I learned something about myself. What will I do next time when I'm in the same situation? It's not how many times you failed, it's how many times you got up and continued the journey.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And just being able to kind of get better with these things, like, because a lot of times these challenges they're going through, if as we learn, as you mentioned, and get better, they're not going to challenge us in the same way because we're not going to be affected by them in a sense. Like we're always going to have challenges, but it's not like we're going to repeating the same ones if we get better, right? So it's the process of evolving, and it's kind of forging your character in that process. Because I feel like success is something you attract by the person that you become, right? And we have to trust the process. We have to know that it's all we have is right now. So let's kind of enjoy the moment and always strive for more.
Absolutely. And that, I mean, it's a good news and a bad news. The stronger we become, the harder challenges are. And that just shows you that you're stronger. You can manage that and you can overcome that as well and become even stronger. So it's just life, like in the gym. You start lifting, like, with, well, I'm talking about myself, 5 pounds, and then 10 pounds, 15 pounds, and then, like, you need to lift so much higher to continue progress. Same thing in life. But when you have this mentality that no matter what happens to me, it's to my own for my own growth and development, and I have power to overcome it.
Exactly. Having a strong belief within yourself that you can do it, right? And like you are enough. And as long as like I like to look at it like this, like it's more important to actually stay in alignment with who you are and be at peace with yourself than it is to actually get the goal, right? Because we end up losing ourselves in many instances, and if we stay in integrity with ourselves, those things are going to happen, right? So it's essentially focusing on the things you can control that are within, and then those external results will show.
I 100% agree. Focus on yourself first, and it's not selfish. It's something that you do. You're becoming more aligned, and you actually become uh, you become so much better in so many other areas of your life, as a partner, as a parent, as an author, as the healer, or anything, right? So, but you start with yourself first.
Yeah. So it's all about, right? You have to kind of just develop self mastery in a sense. And again, you don't have to be
Yes.
perfect in any way. It's about doing what you can, like because we're so externally focused. You mentioned that before as well. It's like if we focus on our life, like as you as the foundation, but having your mindset and the character within it extends to everything else. So health, wealth, relationships, and beyond. Like, and that's where it all starts. As you're saying, it's like then we can actually be of the most service that we can too.
Hmm. Yeah, the peace starts with me, right?
Yeah, I like
If
that.
I'm aligned, if I'm like, I can do so much better. And the thing is, when we are not aligned, it's almost like looking at the bottom of the lake, okay, with muddy water,
Right.
okay, because there is no clarity. And when there is no clarity, you do not know who you are, you do not know what makes you happy, you do not know what you want, and basically you just kind of you become again reactive. When you have clarity, then you can do what fills you, your cup, your vessel, and then you start sharing out of abundance, because I do not believe that you can share out of empty cup.
Yeah.
By
Oh, I was trying to do that.
sacrificing, right?
Yeah.
By sacrificing, you're like, basically, if I'm not filled with, with energy, but I start basically cutting my limbs and giving it out, and I'm like, you see how kind I am? I'm like sacrificing, but that's not the right way to give back. The right way is to fill your cup to the rims and then share it out of abundance, because you have so much to share. Your talents, your energy, your time, your resources, you have so much to share. But you have to start with your alignment first.
100%. Yeah, you gotta get down to that self care, right? You have to be willing to take care of yourself, and just do even the basics, right? It doesn't have to do anything super fancy, but then just kind of like making sure you're getting that sleep quality, got your nutrition and your exercise and all these things. You're just
And
gonna
this
feel so
is
much
all
better.
in my book.
Yeah, you feel so much better.
This
Yeah,
Yeah, this is all in my book, how to take care of yourself, but not kind of like doing something extraordinary, or like, climbing Mount Everest. No, that you do up when, when you're ready to do that, right?
right.
But small little steps with compassion, with love, with kindness, that will bring you big results down the road.
Yeah, 100%. You're saying like success it kind of requires a certain type of wattage, right? You have to be willing to hold it in a sense. And a lot of times we fear it in a sense. We know like the fear of failure, but also the fear of success is very real. And it's being willing to go for what you want. It's a process, right? You have to learn and grow within that, and it's just a believing possibility. Kind of look at it that like in that way as well. So
Do you feel that sometimes people cannot even imagine that they could be successful because they do not feel worthy?
yes, 100%, all the time, right? It's like we're holding on to past stories, past ways of being, but we're not really understanding the truth of things. And as soon as we let these things go and work through it, and whatever it is, like healing, then we can actually see what is possible and see beyond our current circumstances and grow from there.
Hmm. And usually not feeling worthy these are not the stories we're born with. This is something we inherited. It could be directly or indirectly. And directly it happens when, our caregivers or our teachers or our classmates tell us something about us or told us something about us in our childhood. And we kind of remembered those things and we took it as a truth about ourselves. Indirectly, it's when we see people around us treating themselves this way. And if they are significant adults in our childhood, that's what we inherit. Many times I am saying, because I'm parent of almost 19-year-old kid. He's a student at University of Michigan. And I always say, kids will not do what you tell them to do. Kids will do exactly what they see you doing. And if you bully yourself, if you are so harsh with yourself, if you hate yourself, if full of shame, self-hatred, that's unfortunately, that's the pattern, that's a blueprint that they will start following until the day when they have awareness and kind of like, hold on a second, that's not my path. But it takes time. It takes time.
Yeah.
And awareness.
For sure. Yeah. You gotta be the model of what is possible.
Or something, something serious happened either in life or with our health, right? When it's kind of like, hold on, that's not right. I need to go to the bottom of it and start reflecting on it and start making changes.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people, we kind of get to that moment, unfortunately, first. Like, we get to that, rock bottom moment, and it's like, then you create change. I don't know if it has to be like that, but it's like, it seems to be like that for many people.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, on the other side of it, though, like, many people get in the health field due to their own challenges or someone that they love, right? So, you just got to see it through and kind of see the blessing in it, in a sense. Just kind of keep moving forward. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Break down before breakthrough, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah, sometimes it happens this way, and that's what life is about. It's just, I live now with this mentality that every challenge that's given to me, there is opportunity for growth. There is opportunity to learn something about myself, to get closer to who I am, to my true nature, to my true message.
100%. We just got to be willing to keep moving forward, right? It's like, kind of as you said, it's like we have to change the way we look at these things. Because if we keep this victim mindset of all this just happening, we're never going to get beyond it, right? So it's just be a victim of our circumstances, right? And that's hard to do, but it's definitely possible. And the life that we thought that was just gonna happen, like in terms of like disease or whatever it is, now we actually start to see a different possibility, right? We start to open up different ways of doing things, and we actually get results.
Yes, that's another quote that I love from you. I want to be a victor. I don't want to be a victim. That's what I heard from you also. Thank you so much for bringing it into my life. But that's exactly right, because if you will live with mentality that I'm a victim of circumstances happening to me and I'm just like, load myself with self-pityness, that will not bring me to any self-reflection, because things happening to me, not that I'm attracting things that happening to me, and what is in me that has to be learned, has to be, healed in a sense, that attracts those type of relationships, those type of situations. And but you continue living as a victim and you always have somebody to blame. And there is another powerful thing to think about it is when we give our power to people or to circumstances that they are happening to us, we don't have any power left to change things.
Right.
When I get power that I'm the author of my life, in addition to author of the book, I'm the author of my life. And I will create what I want. And I will be strong to face challenges as they approach. And I will go deeper and I will heal myself. I basically empower myself versus I'm giving that power to, my parents or my ex-husband or this or that. I empower myself. I'm in control. I can change things.
100%. Yeah. The pen is in our hands, right? You get to write a story every single day with the decisions that we make. And that's the key about agency, right? It's like, as you said, power's not in external circumstances. It's really in how you respond to them on a day-to-day basis. And we get to decide what things mean. So,
Absolutely. I mean, things happening. And, as I work with people, as I coach people, I see different scenarios. I see different circumstances. And I see some of the scenarios, some of the life scenarios that would break, people. And people find strength to survive. Not blaming God, not blaming, somebody else, but, learning something from it and creating something so powerful and meaningful. I met people who lost their kids. I met people who, who lost their loved ones to suicide. Like I met so many different situations, and I was amazed what people chose to do to make out of it, where you would think that the person would break, but the person chose to create something powerful out of it.
yeah.
And that always inspires me because life is hard. Life is not easy. But what we do out of it is that's our story.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Our story is our glory, right?
Oh, yeah. For sure. I mean, no, just moving forward every single day with that. It's like power is truly in our hands. And, moving forward, we always need to choose the process, right? As you said, it's not always going to be easy, but it's possible, right? And we start to embrace our story. And once we start to do that, we can see we actually help people once we get to the other side of this. So now it kind of gives you more purpose behind it, right? Kind of like finding out who you are and all these things and, living in alignment. And this makes things a lot easier, right? And reaching your full potential is what it's all about.
Absolutely. And one more thing, whatever happening, we have to remember to be kind to ourselves.
Yeah.
Because not every day we're strong. There are days when my biggest accomplishment is walking with my dog, and that's it. And that's okay too.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
just
point.
have to be kind to myself. Not every day I'm writing a book. Not every day I'm creating something, um, meaningful and powerful, right? But just being kind to yourself in the process, whatever you're walking through.
Yeah, 100%. It's like doing what you can with where you are and what you have, right? Because what you have is
Yes.
enough.
But always be on your side. Always.
Yeah, that's the
I
key.
just learn it. I just listen, I'm just embracing it at the age of 48. Always be on your side, no matter what's happening. Always be on your side. Always be your biggest fan. Do not expect world to heal you, to help you, to do anything, for you to change your situation. Be on your side, always.
I love it. All right, so much. Regina, it's been awesome. I appreciate you so much today for coming on the show and sharing your story with us and everything we can do to kind of take control of our mind in a sense, especially emotional healing, nutrition, all these things. Everything works together in synergy. And a lot of it comes down to giving yourself grace with that process, right? Because things are going to happen. Ultimately, it comes down to kind of building that high quality relationship with who we are and understanding that our story can inspire others as well, right? Just like as we did today. And, we spread the message and kind of have the world win in a sense. That's what it's all about. So thank you so much, Regina.
Yes, and I want to finish. Thank you so much for having me here today. And I want to finish with a strong quote from Viktor Frankl. the meaning of life is to give life a meaning.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I just want to finish with such an inspirational quote from one of my favorite authors.
Yeah. Powerful.
Yes.
All right. So if we can get connected with you and all your work, where can we go for that?
Yes. Have a wonderful week. Sorry, did you ask me something?
Yeah, I was asking if we can get connected with you on your work. Where can we go?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. Yes, so it's Regina Oswald Official on my Instagram. It is reginaoswald.com on my website. And that's pretty much it. I share on my Instagram, I share all my insights, my daily life, my loved ones, everything that I do, everything, even what I eat, how I travel, what I wear, because I'm a fashion designer also. So there is so much, like a huge collection of everything.
Very cool. All right.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Anthony, thank you so much for having me.